What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus package update, stimulus check update, daily news, everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., and everything you need to know about, including money, investing, the stock markets. If you're new to our YouTube channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you so much for hitting the like button on these videos. You guys are absolutely amazing. Okay, first up, we're going to start with Senator Bernie Sanders responding to President Biden in a new interview and discussing the Build Back Better stimulus package and where it goes from here, and several of the provisions in the package as they're going to be redoing it and renaming it. He's talking about several different things in that package. And also in this video, we're going to be talking about some unexpected people that are going to be receiving $1,400 stimulus checks in today's episode that you're not going to believe. So we got a lot to talk about here, so make sure to stay tuned to the end of this video. First, we're going to go to Senator Bernie Sanders, who's considered President Biden's right-hand man. Here we go in his latest interview.
President Biden singled you out at his press conference this week when he was asked if he was governing too far to the left. Take a listen.
You guys have been trying to convince me that I am Bernie Sanders. I'm not. I like him, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been.
What was your reaction when you heard that?
Well, I'm not Joe Biden. I like him, but I'm not Joe Biden. I'm a progressive who believes that the Democratic Party should make it clear that we are prepared to take on powerful special interests like the drug companies, like the insurance companies, like the fossil fuel industry, that we have to demand that the wealthy start paying their fair share of taxes. So look, I think President Biden has done something quite unusual. He has taken a hard look at the problems facing the American people. He's brought forth legislation to try to address that. And I respect that. But obviously, we have our strong differences.
And what do you say to those who say that part of the reason why that you're stuck, as you just described, in process and policy is because Joe Biden is governing more like Bernie Sanders than Joe Biden, and that's not what the American people asked for?
Well, I would turn that around and say, how does it happen that the policies we are now fighting for are enormously popular? You know, CNN did some polling out there. Ask whether the American people think it's time to take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry. Ask whether we should be dealing with the existential threat of climate. Should we be building affordable housing? Should we be dealing with child care crisis? And the American people say, yeah, it's about time you did it. We're seeing the very richest people in this country, Dana, becoming incredibly richer during this pandemic, while tens of millions of American workers are struggling to make ends meet. The American people want us to have the courage to stand up to powerful special interest.
Senator,
that's what they want, and that's what we've got to do.
Here we are 1 year into the Biden presidency. Those two key priorities are stalled in the Senate, the social spending bill and climate bill, the election reform legislation. It's because Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema won't get on board. How frustrated are you?
Well, it's not only those two. It is 50 Republicans who have been adamant not only in pushing an anti-democratic agenda, but also opposing our efforts to try to lower the cost of prescription drugs, trying to expand Medicare to include dental, hearing, and eyeglasses, to improve the disastrous situation in home health care, in child care, to address the existential threat of climate change. You got 50 Republicans who don't want to do anything except criticize the president. And then you have, sadly enough, 2 Democrats who choose to work with the Republicans rather than the president, and who have sabotaged the president's effort to address the needs of working families in this country. Is it frustrating? It sure is. But my view, Dana, is we need a new direction, a new approach in the Senate. I think after 6 months of negotiating, so-called negotiating behind closed doors with Senators Manchin and Senator Sinema, we need to start voting. We need to bring important pieces of legislation that impact the lives of working families right onto the floor of the Senate. And if the Republicans want to vote against lowering the cost of prescription drugs, climate change, home health care, whatever it may be, and if the two Democrats want to join them, let the American people see what's happening. Then we can pick up the pieces and pass legislation.
So I want to get
but the current course of action, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to get to more of that and really drill down on what you mean by that in 1 second. But while we're talking about the two Democratic senators, you saw, I'm sure, that the Arizona Democratic Party censured Senator Sinema. Was that appropriate?
Absolutely it was. On that particular vote that she and Manchin cast, we were trying to address the reality that you got 19 Republican states all over this country who are undermining the foundations of American democracy, trying to make it harder for people of color, young people, people with disabilities to vote, coming up with extreme gerrymandering, taking action against independent election officials. And it is so important that we protect American democracy, that we stand up to the big lie of Trump and his allies that he really won the election. And they undermine that effort. I think what the Arizona Democrats did was exactly right.
So you gotta really think here. Senator Kyrsten Sinema and Senator Joe Manchin are feeling a lot of pressure. We have Senator Joe Manchin, who has now said he's willing to negotiate. He's willing to come back to the table and negotiate with the Democrats. Senator Kyrsten Sinema has been censured by her own Arizona Democratic Party, the party that backs her from her own state. She's an Arizona senator from the Democratic Party. And it does kind of make you question how much pressure they're feeling from their own states, from their own constituents. Joe Manchin says he's now willing to negotiate, where before he said, I'll put some quotes there because we don't know how much of that was negotiation through the press. We don't know how much was that. How much was it a no? How much was it negotiation? You don't really know. But how much pressure Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are feeling with them kind of going against their own party, their own Democratic Party, when basically all of the Democrats from the House of Representatives and all the Democrats from the Senate besides them are voting yes on the Build Back Better stimulus package and voting yes on the voting rights reform. They're the only two voting no and essentially voting with the other party, the Republican Party, when they're also being criticized that they're getting millions and millions of dollars in campaign funding. You like my gesture there? They're getting millions of dollars in campaign funding from the other political party, not from the other political party, I should say, but from Republican donors are actually donating campaign funding from typically Republican donors. So it's a very interesting political atmosphere. Let me know your thoughts right now.
Would you be willing to campaign against either Senator Sinema and or Senator Manchin in a Democratic primary?
Well, that's a long way coming. They're not up until 2024. But if there were strong candidates in those states who were prepared to stand up for working families, who understand that the Democratic Party has got to be the party of working people taking on big money interests, if those candidates were there in Arizona and West Virginia, yes, I would be happy to support them.
Okay, let's go back to the notion of how you're going to do what President Biden talked about, passing what he called big chunks of the social spending and climate plan. You say you want every senator to vote. Can you specifically talk about how you're going to, or you want to go about doing that? How can you get these things, not just to have political votes to show that Republicans are against it, but more importantly, how can you pass at least the bare minimum of what you think you can?
Well, I think Donna, what's most important is that the ideas that we are fighting for are enormously popular, 70, 80% of the American people want us to Medicare to negotiate prescription drug costs. People want to expand Medicare. People want to deal with the crisis of climate. So what we are talking about is what the American people want. And I think when you bring bills on the floor, we have allowed the Republicans to get away with murder. They haven't had to vote on anything. Now, if they want to vote against lowering the cost of prescription drugs, expanding Medicare, dealing with child care, dealing with housing, let them vote. And let Manchin and Sinema decide which side they are on. And when all of that shakes out, we'll see where we are. I have the feeling that we will be able to get 50 votes or more on some of these issues. We can put that piece together and then pass something that's very significant.
So if I'm understanding you right, you're saying put all of these policy initiatives on the Senate floor, let them get a vote, and let's be honest, they'll probably fail. And then once that happens, you'll craft legislation that can actually pass on specific parts of the Democratic agenda that have enough support?
Once that happens, Dana, we will know where we stand. I am not quite so sure that you're not going to get at least 50 votes to lower the cost of prescription drugs or to expand Medicaid to deal with climate. But once we know where people are at, then we can say, all right, look, we got 50 votes here, we got 51 votes here, 49 votes here. Let's do it. But what has bothered me very much is the Republicans are laughing all the way to Election Day. They have not had to cast one bloody vote which shows us where they're at, and we've got to change that.
Is Senator Schumer, the majority leader, on board with this strategy that you're describing today?
Well, this is a discussion that we're going to have not only with Senator Schumer, but with the entire Democratic caucus. I think there is widespread understanding that what we have done for the last 6 months has failed from a policy point of view. It has failed politically. We need to change course. We need to have the courage to take on the Republicans and let Manchin and Sinema decide which side they are on.
I want you to listen to something that you told me on the show just after Democrats took unified control of government just about a year ago.
The Democrats who have slim majorities in the House and the Senate, we got President Biden in the White House. If we do not respond now, yes, I believe 2 years from now, the Republicans will say, hey, you elected these guys. They did nothing. Vote for us, and they will win.
So given where you are now, have Democrats delivered enough to win control in November?
Well, we have done, remember, we're taking on the incredible obstructionism of 50 Republicans who have turned their backs on working families in this country. And we have 2 Democrats who have sabotaged the president's agenda. But we did pass the American Rescue Plan, which was one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in the modern history of this country, got money into the hands of working families, cut childhood poverty by 40%, gave money to hospitals and medical centers all over this country, and helped us stabilize the economy. We also passed an infrastructure bill, the most significant piece of infrastructure bill since Dwight D. Eisenhower in the 1950s. So we are making some progress, but clearly we have been stalled by the sabotage, if you like, of 2 Democrats who have refused to support what the president and 48 of us want to do.
So there you have it. Senator Bernie Sanders being as blunt as ever, just speaking his mind, letting everybody know. I can't say the truth because truth is in the eye of the beholder, right? Everybody has their own version of the truth, right? But letting everybody know his version of the truth, right? And Bernie, he'll just let it all out there and just let everybody know. And he's not afraid to call out people from his own party, including Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Democrats have done enough, or do you think the Republicans are going to take back the House and the Senate here later this year? The Democrats have passed the American Rescue Plan that had the $1,400 stimulus checks in there, the child tax credits, which were passed for 1 year that have now expired, and they're going to try to pass them again for 2022. It also had the about $40 billion in rent assistance, which is still available in some areas. I'll link you to that here at the end of this video, as well as mortgage assistance for homeowners, about $9.9 billion. That's available in all states at the moment. Some states are maybe just becoming available here now pretty soon. And there's utility assistance and for utilities, available probably in almost all states as well. So there's all sorts of different programs here that we'll be covering here on this show. And in today's episode of You Can't Make This Stuff Up, yeah, check out this story. $1,400 stimulus checks can be claimed for dead people in 2022. Here it is directly from Fox 45 News in Baltimore. And this is actually a true story. That's why I like to show you guys this stuff directly on screen, so you know it's true. This is only for certain types of dead people. Here's the details. This actually might pertain to some family members here. I know, you can't make this stuff up. Here's the details. If someone didn't get their money last year, a person doesn't even need to be alive to claim their money. The IRS published information for taxpayers earlier this month, and one of the things the agency noted is that families of people who passed away in 2021 and did not receive their full economic impact payment, also known as the stimulus checks last year, can still claim the money. Of course, that person has to have qualified to get the payment, basically income qualification, under $75,000 to $80,000 last year in the first place. Okay, from the IRS, an individual who died in 2021 or in 2022 and did not receive the full amount of the third economic impact payment may be eligible for the 2021 recovery rebate credit if the individual met the eligibility requirements while alive. While alive. The IRS wants to be very clear. Here's where you get the kind of stipulations here. An individual who died prior to January 1st, 2021 does not qualify for the 2021 recovery rebate credit. There may be additional complications if you're married. If your spouse died before 2021 and you received the recovery rebate credit, you will need to pay it back. Single taxpayers who made less than $75,000 qualify for the full amount. Married couples filing jointly made less than $150,000 also qualified for the full payment. Yeah, so basically, if you passed away during the year and you were eligible for the stimulus check, but didn't receive it, not if you pass away, but if, obviously you wouldn't be watching this. I know you can't make this stuff up, right? But if you had a family member pass away during the year and they didn't receive their stimulus check, they may still be eligible. When you file their final tax return, you might be able to still claim it. So keep that in mind. Also, I've been getting a lot of questions from people in the comments lately here. What do I do if I didn't get stimulus check 3? This also goes for stimulus check 1 and 2. You claim it on a tax return. So if you didn't get stimulus check number 3 throughout the year, you now claim it on a 2021 tax return. So if you don't normally file a tax return, you're probably going to want to file it because that's how you get it. And if you don't normally file a tax return, you're probably going to want to do that. You could just file a simple tax return. You can go to Google and type in IRS simple file or file simple tax return, or you can just have a tax professional do it. Go to H&R Block or something like that. On line 30 on your tax 40 on your 1040 tax return, you put the amount that the IRS owes you for your stimulus check. Okay. If you're owed 1 or if you're owed 2 for you and your spouse or you and your dependents, you put the amount that's owed to you in total. So in 2021, stimulus check 3 and or any dependent stimulus checks that are owed to you, that is what you put for stimulus check 3. Remember, stimulus check 3 was for 2021 underneath President Biden. If you're owed for stimulus check 1 and stimulus check 2, that's from the previous year, 2020. Okay, you can go back and file a 2020 tax return if you didn't file a 2020 tax return, or you can go back and file an amended 2020 tax return if you didn't receive stimulus check 1 or stimulus check 2. You can file 2020 tax returns or file amended 2020 tax returns if you never received those stimulus checks. You can still go back and claim those, okay? Again, if you have like detailed questions, you might want to talk to a tax professional. You could probably just walk into an H&R Block or any type of tax thing like that, or talk to your uncle or anybody like that who does taxes, or anybody like that, because remember, each person's tax situation is a little bit different, so just keep that in mind. But remember that these are tax stimulus checks are actually tax refunds. They're tax rebates, okay? Even if you don't file a tax return, that's technically what they are. So yeah, there's probably millions of people that didn't get stimulus check 3, 2, and 1. So don't just hope for them. I don't think they're sending them out at this point anymore now that 2021 is over. Okay. So definitely make sure you claim them, as well as I'll keep you up to date here with everything else going forward here in 2022. State stimulus checks, student loan forgiveness, Social Security raises. Pretty much everything under the sun that you need to know about. There's going to be a lot here going on in 2022. The child tax credits, everything. I mean, I can't even think about all the stuff here off the top of my head because there's a lot of different things going on here. SNAP, yeah, you name it here, we cover it here on this channel. So make sure to click the subscribe button down below, and I'll keep you up to date here. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click here to watch my newest video next, and you can also click here to see how some people can claim $5,000 on their tax returns. And if you don't know about that, you might not get it. You physically need to know about it. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.